His phone buzzed. Site emergency. A scaffold issue. He grimaced. I have to go. I won't be late. Go, she said, kissing his cheek. Be safe. When he turned the corner, Clara watched him until he disappeared. Then she took out her own phone and typed a message. Ready. Within half an hour, she was at Evelyn's house. Papers waited on the table. The Harborstone priority reservation, a solicitor's client account number, a prepared SHAPS form for same-day transfer. We'll place a £30,000 reservation now, Evelyn said briskly. Then move the rest to secure our position with the solicitor until exchange. Clara swallowed. Shouldn't we tell him? Evelyn's look stopped her. He'll panic and delay. SHAPS cutoff is soon. Do you want this or not? Clara's fingers shook as she entered the joint account details into the bank app and initiated the first transfer to the solicitor's client account. The OTP pinged to her phone because she was a joint holder. She typed it in. Approved. Good, Evelyn said. Now send £170,000 to my account. I'll wire it to the builder's holding line. They know me. It will be faster. Clara froze. To your account. For speed, Evelyn said smoothly. I'll send the confirmation when it's done. We can't miss the window. Clara's heart thudded. She typed the second transfer. The app asked for facial recognition. She held her phone up, breathing shallowly, and watched the spinning wheel. Approved. Across town, James climbed down a ladder, wiped dust from his hands, and checked his phone. No signal. The basement was a dead zone. He slid the phone back into his pocket and tightened a bolt with extra care, forcing his brain to focus on metal and angle and safety. When he stepped outside 15 minutes later, the notifications arrived like hail. SHAPS transfer £30,000 approved. Faster payment £170,000 sent. James stared. The pavement tilted. Sounds grew distant. He opened the app with shaking fingers. Balance, £0. He called Clara. The call rang and rang, then went to voicemail. He called again. No answer. He called the bank. The menu droned. He was stuck in a queue. He ran. By the time he reached Evelyn's house, his breath was ragged. He hammered the door. It opened slowly. Evelyn stood there, calm as a clock. James, she said, as if surprised. What a visit. Where's Clara? He demanded, pushing past. Where is she? In the sitting room, Evelyn said, voice even. We've just done something very important for your future. Clara stood by the mantel, eyes swollen, phone clutched to her chest. She tried to speak, but the words broke. James, What did you do? He asked, the world narrowing to her face and the empty echoing space inside his ribs. Evelyn answered for her. We reserved your home, she said crisply, and we moved the rest where it will be safe from your fear. James turned slowly. You moved my £200,000. Our money, Clara whispered. Our home. No, James said, voice low and shaking. You moved it without me. Evelyn's smile was thin. Joint means joint. James looked at his wife, at his mother, at the neat folder on the table. He realized, with a clarity that burned, that a line had been crossed, a line that might never be uncrossed. Put it back, he said, each word an effort. Now. Clara's eyes filled again. Evelyn's expression didn't change. No, Evelyn said. We're finally moving forward. James felt something inside him fall, like scaffolding collapsing in the dark. The air inside Evelyn's sitting room was heavy, as though even the walls were holding their breath. James's fists trembled at his sides. He had never shouted at his mother, never raised his voice at his wife, but now his chest burned with a fury he could hardly contain. £200,000, he roared, startling Clara into a sob. Gone in one afternoon. Without my consent. Clara rushed forward, clutching his arm. James, please, listen. We didn't take it. We moved it into action. Into something real. A house. A future. He jerked away from her touch. You drained the account without me. That's theft. It's not theft, Evelyn cut in sharply, rising from her chair. You gave her joint access. That makes it hers as much as yours. James turned to her, eyes blazing. I trusted you both. Trusted that you wouldn't. His voice cracked, and he pressed a hand to his forehead. Evelyn folded her arms, her calmness chilling. Stop dramatizing. You've always been too cautious. You hide money like a miser, and for what? Dust. Clara and I have done what you never would, turned savings into life. Clara's tears spilled. I only wanted us to have a home, to stop renting, to stop explaining to friends why we're still in a flat when we could do more. You don't get it, James hissed. That money was my blood, my sweat, my years. Every pound, a night I didn't sleep, a weekend I didn't rest. And now it's not even mine. It's ours. Clara cried. Marriage means no secrets, James. No hiding. His chest heaved. He looked at both of them, the two women he thought he could rely on, and felt the crushing weight of betrayal. You've broken something, he whispered. Something you can't fix with papers and signatures. Evelyn lifted her chin. You'll thank us when you're holding the keys. James stared at her, his breath shallow. For the first time in his life, he saw his mother not as protector but as enemy. The following days were chaos. James stormed to the bank, demanding the transfers be reversed. The bank officer shook his head apologetically. Sir, these were authorized transactions by one of the joint account holders. We cannot reverse funds already cleared to solicitor and private accounts. James slammed his fist on the counter. So she can drain everything, and you'll call it legal? The officer's voice was calm. That's the nature of joint accounts. Either party may transact independently. James left the bank shaking, rage boiling in his chest. He returned home late that evening to find Clara waiting, her face pale from crying. James, she said softly, I know you're angry. But please, see the bigger picture. We didn't steal from you. We secured us a future. We did this for us. He glared at her. For us. You and my mother whispering behind my back, conspiring like thieves. Clara's voice broke. She only guided me. I wanted to prove I could be part of your plans, not just a bystander. James paced the room, his mind racing. You had no right. No right to touch what I saved. You could have talked to me. But instead, you betrayed me. She reached for him, but he stepped back. Don't call this betrayal, she pleaded. Call it desperation. I was tired of being shut out. Tired of being treated like I wasn't part of your vision. I wanted to belong. His silence was louder than any shout. Later that night, Evelyn called him. James, stop sulking. The money is in safe hands. The solicitor confirmed the reservation. In months, you'll be a homeowner. Clara did right by you. You did this, James said coldly. You planted this in her head. I protected your future, Evelyn snapped. One day you'll see that. But James already knew he wasn't going to see it their way. Not now. Not ever. Weeks passed. The solicitor handling the supposed reservation called James one morning. Mr. Anderson, the voice said politely, I'm just following up regarding the balance for exchange. We've received £30,000, but the remainder hasn't arrived. James froze. What remainder? The rest was sent the same day. The solicitor hesitated. We've only had the initial deposit. Unless there's been a mistake, you may need to confirm with your bank. James's stomach dropped. He checked his records. Yes, £170,000 had left the joint account. But not to the solicitor. It had gone to Evelyn's account. His blood ran cold. That evening, he stormed into Evelyn's house, bank statement in hand. "Where is the £170,000? He demanded. Evelyn looked up from her knitting, unfazed. "Safe." "Safe where?" His voice shook. She placed the needles down calmly. "I moved it into investments. Opportunities far better than any solicitor. High-yield funds, insider chances. That money will double, maybe triple." James's knees weakened. "Without telling me, without even securing the house." "You're blind, son," Evelyn said sharply. "That development was a trap. Overpriced boxes. I saved you from foolishness." Clara entered the room, panic on her face. "Mom, you didn't tell me this." "I didn't need to," Evelyn said smoothly. "You did your part. Now let me do mine." James thrust the papers at her. "This is fraud. Theft. My money is gone." "Our money," Evelyn corrected, eyes flashing. "And it's not gone, it's working." Clara covered her mouth. "James, I didn't know." But James wasn't listening anymore. His world was crumbling. His wife, his mother, both. James staggered home that night like a man carrying stones in his chest. His flat felt smaller than ever, its walls closing in on him. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, unable to breathe properly. Clara followed him nervously. "James, please, you have to believe me. I didn't know she would move the whole balance. I thought everything went to the solicitor." He raised his head slowly, his eyes hollow. "You think that makes it better? You opened the door. You gave her the knife. She stabbed me, yes, but you held me down while she did it." Clara flinched as if struck. "I'm your wife. I would never." "You already did," he snapped, rising to his feet. His voice cracked with pain. "Do you understand what £200,000 meant to me? It wasn't just money, Clara. It was my freedom, my security, my life's work. And you threw it into her hands." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I wanted to belong. I wanted to be part of your plans." James pressed his fists against the wall, fighting back the scream building inside. His chest ached, his throat burned. For the first time in years, he felt truly powerless. That night, he couldn't sleep. Memories of his younger years flashed before him. The cold mornings on construction sites, eating sandwiches in the rain, the overtime shifts, the missed birthdays, the friends who called him stingy. He had endured all of it because he saw a future in that savings account. Now it was gone, snatched away in one reckless scheme. By morning, he was a shell. He didn't go to work. He sat at the table staring at his phone, scrolling endlessly through bank statements, transfers, Evelyn's account details. His hands shook. When Clara placed a plate of toast in front of him, he shoved it aside. "James," she whispered, "say something." He looked up, his eyes red. "I don't know who you are anymore." Days turned into weeks. James avoided both women. He slept on the couch, barely ate, and dragged himself to work like a machine. His colleagues noticed the change. Malik pulled him aside one afternoon. "Bro, what's going on? You look like you're dying inside." James swallowed hard. "They took it. My mum. My wife. They took everything." Malik's eyes widened. "The 200 grand? James nodded. Malik cursed under his breath. "You need a lawyer, James." "No." "Joint or not, if she funneled money into her personal account, that's fraud. Even if it's your mother." The word fraud echoed in James's head all the way home. He sat Clara down that evening, his voice trembling with fury. "I'm meeting with a solicitor tomorrow," he said flatly. "If that money doesn't come back, I'm pressing charges." Clara gasped. "Against your own mother?" "Against anyone who stole my life," he replied coldly. "James, please," Clara begged, gripping his arm. "She only wanted to help. Don't drag her into court. We'll sort it privately." He pulled his arm free. "No. Privately is what destroyed me. Secrets, whispers, schemes in sitting rooms. Now it will be public. Now there will be consequences." Clara wept openly, but James's heart was stone. The next day, he sat across from a solicitor, sliding documents across the desk, bank statements, transfer records, Evelyn's account details. The solicitor adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Anderson, this is serious. Yes, joint accounts allow unilateral access. But once funds are transferred to a third party for non-joint purposes, you may have grounds for a claim, especially as you never consented." James nodded, his throat tight. "Do you wish to proceed?" the solicitor asked. James hesitated. Images of his mother filled his mind, her cooking, her laughter, the woman who raised him through storms. To drag her into court felt like burning his own flesh. But then he saw Clara signing those transfer forms, Evelyn smirking across the table, his account reading £0. "Yes," James whispered. "Proceed." News of the legal action spread quickly through the family. Cousins called, uncles gossiped, neighbors whispered. Evelyn's sharp tongue, once feared, now lashed with venom against her own son. "He's ungrateful," she shouted to anyone who would listen. "After everything I sacrificed for him, he drags me through the mud over money. Money I was trying to grow for him." Clara's family called her in tears. "Why did you join this madness? You should have stood by your husband, not against him," her sister scolded. Clara was torn. She still loved James, but the rift was wider than any bridge she could build. At night, she would lie beside him, whispering, "I'm sorry, James. I never meant to hurt you." But he never answered. The case dragged on. Bank officials were questioned, documents examined. Evelyn refused to cooperate fully, claiming she had every right to manage her son's future. James stood in court one afternoon, his voice shaking as he addressed the judge. "It wasn't just money, Your Honor. It was my life's work. And the two people I trusted most conspired to take it away." The words echoed in the chamber. Clara sobbed quietly. Evelyn sat stone-faced, unmoved. The judge leaned forward. "This case isn't merely financial. It's about trust and betrayal, both in family and in law." Months later, a partial victory came. The court ordered Evelyn to return what remained of the £170,000 after her investments collapsed into losses. Only £40,000 was salvageable. The rest was gone. James accepted the check in silence, his hands numb. It wasn't victory. It was a reminder of what he had lost. He returned home, packed a small suitcase, and turned to Clara. "I can't stay," he said quietly. She sobbed. "James, please. We can start again. I'll earn your trust back." But he only shook his head. Trust is like glass. Once broken, even when glued, the cracks remain. He left that evening, moving into a small rented room near his worksite. For the first time in years, he felt both empty and strangely free. Weeks passed. Slowly, James rebuilt. He worked longer shifts, took side contracts, and started saving again, not for a house, but for himself. Clara tried calling. He never answered. Evelyn sent letters full of scorn. He burned them. One evening, sitting by the window of his new place, James whispered to himself, It's not over. I'll rise again. And though he had lost £160,000, a marriage and his mother's trust, he realized something. The money could be earned again. But his dignity, his peace, his self-respect, that he would never let anyone steal again.